And the beauty of truth is that it exposes, right? Truth is like the light. It comes on, and as human beings, we love to hide things. We love to be fraudulent in the sense of we like to appear as things that we're not,
Right.
and hope that nobody isn't that what social media is all about?
Yeah.
Presenting ourselves in a light that we're not.
Well, hey everyone, welcome to What Was That About? My name is Moses Khan. I'm joined with our lead pastor here at All People's Church, Dr. Tony Soldano. Pastor, are you excited for today's episode?
I am. Your chairs are still bad, but you've yet to replace the chairs that I requested. But anyway, in the comment sections, please put replace the chairs.
You can't even see the chairs, might I just say that?
But they're not good. They're not good.
We'll work on getting some better chairs.
Thank you.
Listen, we have an incredible topic to talk about today, mainly because I think it's so important that we talk about this and bring this kind of forward. And we're really just talking about the importance of truth, the importance of being confronted by the truth. The reality is sometimes you need people in your life that can shake you a little bit and say, hey, get back to reality, get back to seeing things the way they really are. You're missing the point. You're not seeing yourself clearly or the circumstance clearly. And in some cases, Pastor, we're not seeing God clearly. So let's talk about the importance of truth and confrontation.
So, first of all, human nature, if we go all the way back to the garden, human nature does not like to be confronted.
Right.
People don't take confrontation well.
Yeah.
Most people, as a percentage of the population, are non-confrontational people. So we're not talking about, aggressive, violent type of confrontation, but the fact that, you may be wrong.
Right.
You need to maybe be adjusted in your behavior, thoughts, communication, relationships.
Yeah.
And God is a master at confrontation. We see example after example.
Yeah.
He confronts nations. He confronts people. He confronts his own prophets,
Come on, yeah.
And why? Because he's always bringing truth to us. He's always
Right.
bringing correction because he's a loving father.
Yeah.
But the reality is, as human beings, and particularly in our day, everyone will love you until you confront them. And the beauty of truth is that it exposes, right? Truth is like the light. It comes on. And as human beings, we love to hide things. We love to be fraudulent in the sense of we like to appear as things that we're not,
Right.
and hope that nobody isn't that what social media is all about?
Yeah.
Presenting ourselves in a light that we're not. And
Right.
so people don't deal well with confrontation.
Yeah. I like that you said people don't like you until you, or people like you until you confront them. We could go into that.
Wow.
But we want to talk about Peter, our one of our favorite disciples.
We love this guy. We love this guy. Yeah.
And so, do you want to go into the context a little bit? Peter has this great revelation. Jesus is sitting with the disciples. He asks an incredible question: "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter says, "You're the Son of God. You're the Messiah." And Jesus says, flesh and bone didn't reveal this to you. This was heavenly revelation that my God, my Father gave to you. And so we have this scene just moments later.
Yes.
Where Jesus is,
So before we leave that though, this is not this particular program, but let's put it on the side here if I can. Where I continually say to people out of the letter of John, where John says test spirits. We have so many people today talk about confrontation that are being swallowed up by movements,
right.
Powerful political movements.
Yeah.
And I ask the question, before you make covenant, before you follow a movement, as noble as they may sound and whatever their message may be, find out who is Jesus to that group.
Yeah.
And will they, like John says, how do we test the spirits? Do they believe that Jesus is of God? Has Christ come in the flesh? Is he Messiah? Is he Savior? And that'll give you the answer to the spirit that's behind that.
That's really good.
That movement. But anyway,
let's
let's go to our friend there. Because it all started with Jesus asked the question, who do people say that I am?
Right.
Powerful power. That is a confrontational question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's clarify. Let's expose some things. And so he gets this revelation. Then there's moments later where Jesus is talking about, hey, listen, My assignment is to be killed and then on the third day be raised. And Peter, this is in Matthew 16. Peter literally, it says in verse 22 of Matthew 16, it says, Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him
In front of everybody.
in front of the disciples. Yeah. Imagine this. You're with Jesus. Peter takes Jesus aside and begins to rebuke Jesus, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord.
Yeah.
This shall never happen to you." And Jesus turns to Peter and says something so interesting. He says, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a hindrance to me, for you're not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man." So, Pastor, what's happening here?
First of all, I think Peter's a little bit full of himself now.
Right.
He's got some new confidence,
That's right.
obviously,
Yep.
some human confidence that, well, don't you know, I get revelations from God, right? I hear from the Father, and so
Yep.
now I'm sure moved in his flesh. Now, when he hears this, he's going to do Jesus a favor. So you know,
Right.
he's the leader of the disciples. He's a big man on campus. He thinks he hears from God. Now he gets another inspiration.
Yeah.
That, well, we're gonna protect him if this is the Messiah. You know, isn't that human beings? You
Yep.
know, we're gonna do the right thing. We're gonna
Right.
protect you. We're not gonna allow anybody to harm you. Meanwhile, this is the first guy that, I mean, he backed out to a little girl.
Right.
He began to swear to a little girl.
Yeah.
When the pressure came, right?
Yep.
But here's humanity, all bravado, taking Jesus aside, rebuking him, and basically just saying, you know what, we're going to take care of you. We're
Yeah.
going to do what's right for you.
Right.
And he doesn't even understand that he's not speaking from the right spirit now.
Right.
And Jesus has to confront him.
Yep.
Has to confront him.
Yep.
And he says something pretty harsh.
Yeah.
He doesn't say, "Hey, Peter."
Hey, Peter, no.
No, he
No.
says Satan. I mean,
Wow.
so Jesus now look at the scenario. He gets pulled aside. I'm wondering if Jesus is like, okay, what's he going to say to me?
happening?
Maybe he's got a personal issue or something,
Yeah.
right? And now he's listening to the words of Peter. He's looking at the disciples. He's beginning to discern what is really going on here.
Yeah.
And he recognizes the source. And he recognizes that the source is not even human, but it's Satan.
Yeah.
In other words, there's a demonic element.
Right.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, yeah.
It sounds like my friend.
Right.
Sounds like the leader of my disciples.
Yeah.
Like it's his voice.
Yeah.
But Jesus recognizes this is not the right source. And let's talk about the word Satan in this context.
Yeah, because there's a duality to this, and we've talked a little bit about this, but the word Satan here, the actual definition is adversary. It's to come against the plans of God. And so Jesus is saying, I have a plan, and right now, Peter, you're actually working against it. Like, imagine that. You're working against what I'm trying to accomplish. And so instead of Jesus saying, well, here, Peter, let me explain this to you. Let's sit down. Let's have a little Bible study. Let's have a session. Jesus goes, no. I'm going to confront this right here. You're becoming an adversary. You're hindering the work I'm trying to do. You're not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man. And so I think that's important for us to understand, that we're not always working towards the things of God. Like we might think we are. Right? We might think we're the only ones working towards towards the works of God. And Peter could have thought, I'm the only one who hears from God. I'm the only one moving in the right direction. And Jesus goes, no, you're not. And that needs to be confronted because look at what's happening. Even in this confrontation, Peter is receiving a gift.
Yes.
You say gift. Yeah, he's receiving a gift. That within this confrontation is a gift called clarity.
Yes.
Peter is receiving clarity. Jesus, in other words, is saying, Peter, the next time a voice like this comes into your mind, you can recognize it for who and what it really is. And so Peter receives this clarity. And so this is the beauty of confrontation, because sometimes we're scared to confront people. We're scared to bring truth. In reality, we have to see the other side of confrontation, that confrontation brings clarity. And so when we refuse to confront, we refuse to bring clarity to a situation.
And you know, the stronger we are, Peter's a strong individual.
He's a strong individual.
He's a leader. He's opinionated. He's an influencer.
Right.
They follow him. They respect him.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the stronger we are, the stronger confrontation we require.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Lord will rebuke us. Sometimes the Lord will correct us. In this particular case, Peter made a public rebuke of Jesus.
Right.
And so Jesus needed to publicly rebuke him so then that voice and that thinking wouldn't get into everybody else.
Yeah.
But he's not the only one. And by the way, not the only time that Peter had to be confronted. If you read the Bible, you see that there's a lot of adjustments in his life. But, right from Adam and Eve to Moses to Abraham to King David when King David fell with Bathsheba, to Jonah who rebelled against the assignment, to the Apostle Paul who's killing Christians and terrorizing them and thinking he's doing God a favor. I mean, he's wrapped up in a religious spirit that's bigger than a house, and Jesus confronts him and throws him off his high horse and blinds him and says, you completely have this wrong.
Right.
And so I think it's human nature, and we don't like this, but it's actually human nature to go against God, to resist, even when we love him, to resist him, to somehow, Peter was really saying, listen, I know better. If you really think this is a good plan, I have a better plan.
I have a better plan.
I know better. But what really shocks me in this passage here is that Jesus says of Satan, he doesn't say you mind the things of the demonic. He says you mind the things of men, of mankind.
Yeah.
Now I know there's certain circles that you're not allowed to use that word. We use it. He's saying people, mankind, human nature. You know what Jesus is saying? The satanic and human nature are connected.
Linked,
They're linked. They agree with each other. Like, why didn't Jesus say to Satan, you mind the things of the demonic? No, he says you mind the things of people, of human nature, of philosophies.
Yeah.
And really what we have with Jesus coming is we have kingdoms that collide, don't we?
Yeah.
God through Jesus saying, there's a different way. There's a different philosophy. There's different principles that I want to introduce to you. And so we always have this war that's going on around us. But in this case, it's going on within him.
Wow.
And Jesus is saying, let me confront that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I love about this is Jesus never says to Peter, hey Peter, this behavior can be excused because I know your personality type. Right? I know you're this type of personality, and so it's okay. It's all right. Even in regards to, Peter's personality, Jesus doesn't say, hey, just because your personality flows this way, you get to act this way, that you get to think this way.
Correct.
And so I love that because for a moment, when we talk about truth and confrontation, a lot of times the excuse that we present is, well, this is how I'm wired. This is my personality.
Right.
This is how God built me. And so how do you expect me not to function outside?
Right.
Any words there?
Well, what's interesting, as you were speaking there, it's we would want Jesus to say, oh, you know what, Peter, I know you love me.
Right.
I know you're on my side. I know you want what's best for me because when people make mistakes, they like to fall on intentionality. Well, that wasn't my intention.
Right.
That wasn't what I was after. Or they'll say things like this. God knows my heart. Right. Yeah. Because they want to excuse themselves. And Jesus didn't soften the blow at all.
No.
I mean, to call somebody Satan right to their face. I mean, Peter must have been shocked. Like he's thinking, wait a minute, just a few hours ago I was hearing from God. Now you're telling me that the most wicked entity is speaking through me. And even from an emotional intelligence standpoint, I mean, Jesus confronts with truth and compassion. He doesn't hate Peter.
Right.
He's not trying to humiliate Peter, but he doesn't soft soap it either. He says, if we're going to have this discussion and you are this kind of a leader and an opinionated person, this is, Peter, here's the way I'm going to have to speak to you for me to get your attention. And you know what? That's the mercy of God. Yeah. It's not that Jesus is hard or doesn't have compassion, that's not it at all. It's the mercy of God in Peter's life, in David's life, in Jonah's life, in Moses' life. When God confronts us, it's because he loves us, it's because we're sons and daughters, and because we're not illegitimate.
That's right. And what I love is Peter doesn't leave the group.
Yeah, oh, come on, bro.
Peter.
I got to give you props for that.
Peter
yeah.
doesn't leave the group now that he's been confronted by Jesus in front of everyone.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And so I think we're too quick to kind of run away from places of confrontation, of truth.
Yeah.
And we actually don't receive the growth that God has for us, the sanctification and the forming that he has for us. Because we're like, well, I don't want to stay there now. I'm leaving. I'm offended. I'm gone. Right?
Yeah.
You did me wrong. You didn't understand. And we leave. And so that's not the answer either.
Wow. You know, we could probably do a whole other episode on I'm taking my marbles and I'm running away.
Yeah.
Because the truth is we don't take confrontation well. And the reality is that immature people, you know, receive feedback as criticism.
Yeah.
They don't like to look at their own heart. They don't like to look in the mirror.
Right.
But you know, my friends, if you are blessed, and I want to use that word, if you are blessed with people that will, you know, put it on the line and tell you the truth because they love you. You know, the scripture says, you know, faithful are the wounds of a friend. You know, if you are surrounded by people that are willing to wound you because they love you,
Come on.
you got to cherish those
That's
people, not run away from them, because the majority of people will never tell you the truth.
Yeah. So true.
Wow.
So good. Well, what an incredible episode. Well, listen, I want to thank you again for watching this episode. Remember to share, remember to like, remember to subscribe and comment, give us feedback. Anything that you thought, a point that was made and you thought that was good, let us know in the comment section. Let us know also of other topics that you want us to tackle. We want to bring clarity about issues that are current, that are happening, and provide the truth of God in moments like that. And so we just so appreciate your support. Dr. Tony, thank you for your leadership, for your wisdom.
Great to be
here.
It's
been a blessing. We'll see you in the next episode.
And can you get new chairs? That would be
and
really...
hopefully we'll have new chairs on the next episode.
Thank you.